Breaking news, according to my source, John Tobias has been asked to come back to the franchise, but he only agreed under one condition. Now I'm going to break down all the conditions that he agreed to come back, and it's not in the way you think, it's actually in the best way possible. Now, John Tobias has agreed to return to the Mortal Kombat franchise discreetly as a consultant. Now, for those of you that don't know what a consultant is a person who provides expert advice professionally. Now, let's get into the information. So, after speaking with my source, he told me, hey, I got some fantastic news. You're going to want to put this out ASAP, which is what I'm doing and why you got this video completely out of nowhere. Now, John Tobias has been in talks with the studio on working towards his comeback. Now, in order for me to give you the new news, I need to catch you up on what actually happened and give you the timeline so that it all makes sense. Otherwise, I'll leave you with more questions than answers, and I don't want to do that. So, basically, for those you don't know, Tobias has helped create the series back when the team was only 4 people. Now, it was himself. He is the co-creator, and he was the programmer, along with Ed Boon and the artist John Vogel, and the sound director Dan Forden. Now, they produced the first Mortal Kombat together, which changed the world, pretty much overnight. In MK2, it was so hot that they actually had to protect the machines to keep people from stealing them, but that's a whole nother video in itself. Let's get to the point. So basically, the game did really well. They got deals for merchandise, action figures, novels, comics books, collectibles, a movie, a TV show, cartoon. Everything was going great. Then Mortal Kombat 3 came out. Yes, it still was a hit, but guess what? That's where the cracks began in the foundation of the team. That's where they started forming. Now, things were looking a bit odd. They did follow up with 2 more iterations of the same game, which was Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Now, both of those games, listen, they had their own levels of success and their own levels of criticism. And those were considered 2 failed experiments, which was Mortal Kombat Mythologies and Sub-Zero. Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero and that other game, what was it? Mortal Kombat Special Forces. Those games was terrible according to critics. Now, for me as a Mortal Kombat fan, I love Mortal Kombat, the Sub-Zero version, and I love the Mortal Kombat Special Forces game. Even though I didn't get to play it, I did watch it, basically. Now, Mortal Kombat, the team fell apart because John Tobias felt that they lost their way. They lost their way. It was too much fame, too much success, and it had no direction. This is the reason for him leaving to begin with. Now, the series was also being lost in the dust with other rising, fighting games that were out there. Virtual Fighter was popping, Tekken was popping, Soul Edge was popping, Battle Arena was popping. Everything was just popping at that time. It was time to take the next step. Now, they did attempt to blend their old school fighting game with a 3D dash and bring back the focus of the game, which did not work. So, John Tobias left because he felt like the game was doing terrible, even though it was popping at the time. He left in the middle of production. The middle of production of Mortal Kombat Special Forces, he just completely up and left. Now, Midway even put the series on a hiatus on the condition that the team returns with a title to put Mortal Kombat back on the map. Now, it did take a few years and a lot of personal growth and study in order for that to happen, but they eventually returned with Daily Alliance, which was a massive hit, sending the Mortal Kombat franchise into the proper direction it needed to go. But guess what? It happened again. Mortal Kombat became stale. Mortal Kombat started chasing its tail. Mortal Kombat fell out of the limelight. Now, a lot of you probably like, what do you mean Mortal Kombat fell out of the limelight? I've played every title up until 11. Well, yeah, you may have played the title all the way up until 11, but I'm gonna be honest. I was aware of every Mortal Kombat game that came out. I've played Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. I've played Mortal Kombat 9. I played Deception, Armageddon. So yes, I was tapped in with Mortal Kombat, but I was not tapped in on a super fanboy level. I only played the games out of loyalty is when I played them. I did not really get pulled back into the Mortal Kombat universe until Mortal Kombat 11 because the story was so good but so terrible at the same time, if that makes sense. Now, I'm giving you my personal opinion because it goes with the video. I got sick and tired of Mortal Kombat rebooting the franchise. I was about to curse, but I'm trying not to get this video demonetized. I got sick and tired of them rebooting the franchise. Every game was a reboot. It was Raiden. It was the same thing over and over again. Nothing stuck. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this series. So Mortal Kombat 11 was the perfect opportunity for them to finally do this reboot. But John Tobias only agreed to come back as a consultant if he was able to tell the stories that he wanted to tell. One of the stories he wanted to tell was an open world Mortal Kombat game is what he wanted to tell, which is the reason why Mortal Kombat Mythologies, one of those games, was one of the projects. Now we have the Crypt. The Crypt is a version of Shaolin Monks from Mortal Kombat 12. It is a open world 3D game which he will be able to be comfortable with developing the lore and a lot of other things. Simple as that. This conversation has been had. This is the conversation that brought him back into the fold with WB, which had him doing some work over there at WB San Diego Games. That's where he's been hiding out. Now, as for Tobias and the actual departure, I'ma say this. His departure was not completely admissible. In fact, for a while, the character of Noob Saibot, named after him and Ed Boon, was known simply as Noob. That's how bad they got into it. Remember there was a character named just Noob? Well, that's because they removed the Saibot. They was on so much of bad terms based on something that they both created together. I completely understand. I wouldn't want my name attached to something that we had so good and you want to take all the money, or you want to cartoonize the whole thing and run it into the ground. He wanted to take the game to a more realistic point of basically he wanted to keep the game or get the game to a realistic point of view, because the game is an actual parody of other characters, and parodies don't last that long at all. Now let's move on here. They know Noob Saibot to be Noob for a number of years, and his name was omitted from the franchise's history. His work mentioned but simply glossed over. They did everything they can to bury this man. Now, he did attempt to return to the gaming world by forming his own studio, which was gigantic, and release his own game, which was called Fist of the Lotus, marked as the first fighting game. You get it? Lotus. Get it? Mortal Kombat Lotus. Anyway, White Lotus. Now, he was going to feature real injuries to extremities, and he also did some work on WrestleMania 21 before the studio folded. WrestleMania 21 was actually a pretty good game, if you ask me. The graphics on that game was far ahead of its time. It was phenomenal. The gameplay, everything was just fantastic on that. I know this is not a WWE video, but he had his hand in that game. That was one of my favorite games, even though it was buggy. It was one of the most buggiest games I've ever played. So basically, my point is this. He only agreed to come back if the game picked up realism. What do we notice so far about Mortal Kombat 12? Raiden does the Superfly, and he doesn't yell these crazy words. A lot of that stuff has been removed. The characters are not drawing like big comic book characters anymore. They look proportionate. They look real. Realism. Yes, they did take some of the sexiness away from the female models, or I should say the female fighters in Mortal Kombat, but it was worth it, because now you get to focus on the story. You get to fall in love with the characters, and that's all John wanted to do, so that way he can build something that was going to last for a very, very, very long time. Now, he's smart. He is so smart because he did not sign a contract with them. He only came on as a consultant and not as an employee, because if he don't like something, he can dip out. He can quit. They can fire him as a consultant, but he also can choose not to consult them or anything else. You know, so he found a perfect position so that way he can help and continue telling the story. Now, I'm told personally that he is currently working on Sub-Zero and Goro's models for Mortal Kombat 12. So Sub-Zero and Goro confirmed. Now, I will be doing an updated roster video to kind of give you guys some more information that I have on this updated roster. So you want to stay tuned towards the channel and the rest of this week for that, because I will be increasing the amount of videos that I put out to make up for the week that I took off. I had some things that I needed to handle that were extremely important, but don't worry, I'm back giving you guys the news. So I want to pass this question off to you guys in the comment section below. How do you feel about John Tobias coming on to be a consultant for Mortal Kombat 12? Mind you, this is something that they're trying to keep extremely on the low, but as you can tell, this is not something that's being kept on the low, because his son, young Cybot, is tweeting about it, making Mortal Kombat 12 hints. John Tobias is tweeting a lot of Mortal Kombat stuff. You got the 30th anniversary that's getting ready to come up. You got Ed Boon tweeting about it. It's just the perfect time. Everything is perfect timing, because the 30th anniversary being right around the corner, this is the perfect time to bring back the original team, which my source assured me that they're doing everything that they can to give us that original feeling that we need, as far as music, as far as everything that's going to be related to the game. So that's fantastic news that I like to hear, and it's seeming like we finally going to get some justice on this Mortal Kombat 12 game. Now, I am told that Mortal Kombat will be making a pit stop. You're probably wondering what I mean by a pit stop. I want you to pay attention, because this is one of the most important parts of the video right here. A pit stop means that they're going to be telling stories that's going to take place before Mortal Kombat 12, before Mortal Kombat 11, on the side of Mortal Kombat 11, and after Mortal Kombat 11, almost as if it was a prequel. So keep that in mind, because the storytelling is about to be through the roof for Mortal Kombat 12. I couldn't be more happier for John Tobias. He held out, he took his ball, he went home, and he found something that works for him. Same thing CM Punk did. CM Punk didn't like the way his boss was treating him in the WWE. He took his ball, he went home, and he ended up on AEW, and now this man is living his best life, and he's still able to serve his fans with what they needed to be served with. Now, I want to go ahead and take some time, and I want to speak on Ed Boon real quick. Ed Boon has stuck it out all the way from the beginning. He's got to live out all of his dreams from a Mortal Kombat standpoint. And it's a good thing that John Tobias left when he left, because he took all of them ideas with him. So now we have a fresh brain coming back into the fold that can give us over 30 years worth of story that we did not get at that point in time. Now, I got other videos I'm going to make about the direction that they're going to be going with Liu Kang. I'll give you a hint and say that Liu Kang is going to go insane. He's going to go insane. He's going to lose his ways, but he's going to find his way back. We're going to talk about that in one of the future videos. I got a ton lined up for you. But shout out to Ed Boon and shout out to John Tobias for being able to rectify whatever situation that they had, so they can put this game together for us. We've been waiting patiently for this Mortal Kombat 12 game, and it's looking like we finally going to get it, and this anniversary is going to tell us everything we need to know. Now, there will be an update as far as the timeline for this game, and I can't wait to see what your thoughts are going to be on that video specifically. So I want to pass this other question off you guys in the comment section below. Would you like for them to release a Mortal Kombat 12 game itself, or would you like them to release a prequel game, meaning that it's a game that takes place outside of the timeline of Mortal Kombat 11, meaning that there can be an entire story mode about the Void or something like that? I think that would be pretty cool, and we can kind of live some of that other nostalgia and some of them other stories and be able to see what else is going on in the Mortal Kombat community. I think that's something that we really need to look into, because it can most certainly benefit a lot of people by them just telling so much lore, so much story. Now, they also got the movie. The movie is coming out. It's already been greenlit for part 2, which we already know. And the fact that they're getting ready to tie the movie into the video game is just fantastic. Now, let's get back on John Tobias. Now, John Tobias enjoyed the fact that they gave Ed Boon a table. They gave him a table to discuss what vision he was trying to tell with the Mortal Kombat franchise, and that's something that caught John Tobias's eye. And when that caught his eye, that right there sealed the deal. By him being one of the creators of Mortal Kombat, they both are able to sit down with the studio that filmed the previous Mortal Kombat movie, and they're looking to bring everything full circle. This is what John Tobias always wanted, but it came too early and it came with a price all them years ago, because they ended up getting bad Mortal Kombat movies, bad Mortal Kombat video games, bad action figures, bad cartoon shows, all types of stuff. Now the tides are finally turning, and it is time for John Tobias to come back to what made him rich, what made him well-known, famous, and most importantly, what is his baby. His baby is Mortal Kombat. This is one of the games he's had massive success on. Now don't get me wrong, WrestleMania 21, even though it was buggy, it did its thing. He came out with other games. What was it? I believe it was Smash TV or something like that. He's really doing his thing. You know, when people are passionate about what they're doing, they will take their ball and go home, because it's not always about money all the time. Same thing with Grand Theft Auto. One of the lead writers of Grand Theft Auto, he took his ball and he left the company. He left the company and he's starting his own game. It's kind of like GTA, but it's a little different. He could have stayed on Grand Theft Auto, but he took his ball and went home, because he just felt like the product is just getting stale. When a game start making so much money, people tend to forget about the stories. They don't care about the stories. They don't care about none of that no more. They just care about pumping the game to continue to make money. Just basically pimping out the title is what they would essentially do. But again, Mortal Kombat 11 was a massive success. It was a massive success, story mode wise and video game wise, to the people that matter. Now for me, story mode had a lot of plot holes in it. Sonya and Johnny Cage was nowhere near the end of the game. They was not in it for all the rest of the game. Clothings were changing in the middle of battle. Scorpion was supposed to be dead in one scene, but he was alive in the next one. I think it was Hanzo or something like that. It was just so much going on. So much going on at the time, but shout out to them. They managed to make it work. We're getting this next installment. Their budget has been increased, and I just can't wait to see what John Tobias brings to the team. Now, I do feel like this is something that they're going to keep fairly low, but it's not hard to see, because he's tweeting Mortal Kombat all over his Twitter account, and he's just basically very open with it. Now, I am told he's going to be receiving a massive interview for the 30th anniversary. They are working on putting out something for the 30th anniversary and releasing some old archive footage and things of that nature. They're still getting things together, which is fantastic. So we're about to get the old school MK team together is what's going to be happening. Now, I am told that they reached out to a few other people that worked on the Mortal Kombat team, and I'm waiting to see what the response from those people is going to be, because they're looking to put together this masterpiece. Now, Mortal Kombat 11 has won massive awards. Why wouldn't you want to capitalize on that? You know, the fact that they made up and they're on the same page now, and he came in as a consultant. He's making a fantastic amount of money, and he can say no anytime he wants to. He could say no and he can walk away. Now, come on now. We both know when you sign a contract, you got to finish out the contract, but the contracts are usually not as long as being an employee for the company. It's a little bit harder to kind of get out at that point, you know. It's too much. But being a consultant on a video game sounds way much better than actually working at the studio when it's a hellhole to work for. You know, you have less restrictions on you. You can pick when you want to work, what you want to turn in, what you don't want to turn in to a certain degree. So shout out to him, man. He finally decided to do something that was going to benefit him. It's benefiting him, it's benefiting his situation, and he can be able to put food on the table for his family, and he can supply his fans with the type of love and support that, you know, we need by giving us the game that we desire. So I'm excited to see all the new iterations of the characters and to see where they're going to be taking the franchise going forward. I really got my fingers crossed, because there's so much lore that they can use to turn this into one of those powerhouse games that we need, especially with all of the new stuff that's going on with Street Fighter 6 finally taking that jump to create an open world, an open world video game. You know, they really calling us out here. So the fact that we got half of the whole team together to kind of take this on, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty awesome right there. I don't think they're gonna be ready for what Mortal Kombat 12 has in store, 30th anniversary is around the corner, so I hope you guys is ready to show out, because they got some really good stuff lined up for us. Now I want to go ahead and take this second real quick to say shout out to the mods, you know, for keeping the comments safe and all those things. I know this is a breaking news video, but I just had to get it out for you guys. I could not leave you hanging, so that way you can enjoy these videos in peace. And yeah, more videos coming. Listen, do me a favor, it's been 19 minutes. If you watched this video all the way to this point, man, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on post notifications and hit like, because this is your brand new favorite and exclusive place for the returning daily content of the Mortal Kombat franchise. Catch you in the next one.